Learning target 4 is about solving one variable inequalities and graphing them on a number line. So let's just start by defining an inequality. An inequality is a statement that one quantity is less than or greater than another. So there's some different symbols that we might use. We're going to use the less than symbol, the greater than symbol, or you might use less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. We're going to take some everyday phrases and we're going to write an inequality for them using a variable. So it's saying I'm going to need at least 6 glasses. So my number of glasses needs to be at least 6. So when I read that, I know that it could be 6, it could be 7, could be 8, could be anything more than that. So I'm going to say G needs to be greater than or equal to 8. The next one, it says below 40. So maybe T for temperature should be below 40. It can't be equal to 40, so I need T to be less than 40. Generally, we always write the variable first when we're writing an inequality. Okay, next, fewer than 20 calories. That means less than 20 calories. Can't be equal to 20, so C is less than 20. At most 10. So anything up to 10, including 10. So I want maybe dollars to be less than or equal to 10. Between 35 and 120, this might be something different for you. If we're going to do something where we need a range of numbers, we're going to put the variable in the middle. So it looks like we're talking about degrees, so I'm going to use D. And I need D to be in between 35 and 120. It can't be equal to them. So D could be less than 120, or D could be greater than 35. Or you could read it 35 is less than D is less than 120. It means D is going to be in between 35 and 120. Okay, so now we're going to solve inequalities just like we solved equations. The steps are going to be exactly the same. There's only going to be one small change, and I'll let you know what that is when we get there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and solve these. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 8 from each side. So I'm going to get 2x is greater than or equal to 11 minus 8, which is 3. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have to divide by 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So I end up with x is greater than or equal to 3 over 2. You could just leave that as a fraction. That would be fine with me. You could also make it into a decimal, which would be 1.5. Okay? All right, next one is going to show us what our special case is for inequalities. So the only time that you're going to have to do anything different on an inequality is when your number that's multiplied or divided with the x, so let's say it was x divided by negative 8, if that number is negative, so the coefficient, if that's negative, then we're going to have to do something different. So when I take the opposite, dividing by negative 8, it's going to change the sign on both sides. This side is going to become a positive x, and this side is going to become a negative 7. So what's going to need to happen is this sign is going to need to flip. So I'm going to become x, it's going to become x is greater than or equal to negative 7. Okay? So let me go ahead and show you a couple more here. We're going to subtract 5 on this one. 2x is less than or equal to negative 8. And it doesn't matter if this number over here is negative. The coefficient's positive, so I'm dividing by 2, and I'm leaving the sign exactly as is. X is less than or equal to negative 4. Okay? All right, we didn't talk about graphing yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph all the possible solutions. So we're going to make a number line. 0 in the middle. You can count by whatever you want to. I'm going to go ahead and just count by ones. Okay, and x is anything less than or equal to -4. So first thing, it could be equal to -4. So I'm going to go ahead and just shade a dot in on -4. And then I need a way to show that x could be anything less than -4. So it could be -4.5, it could be -5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade everything this way by darkening the number line and the arrow to the left of the -4 to show less than. Okay? So going back to some of these other ones, maybe let's talk about this one. X is greater than or equal to 1.5. So in this case, I would maybe want to start at 0, and maybe I'd want to count by halves. So 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, -0.5, -1. Okay? And x is greater than or equal to 1.5, so I'm going to go ahead and shade in the 1.5. Since it could be equal to 1.5, I want to show that 1.5 is one of the solutions. The rest of the solutions are greater than 1.5, so this time I'm going to shade to the right. Okay? All right, last one. Let's go ahead and change this sign here. On your notes, cross this out. Let's make this just a simple greater than, no equal to. All right? So just like our last one, or our last section where we're doing solving equations, we've got a variable on each side. So I want to take the smaller one and I want to eliminate it from the side. So I'm just going to minus 1y from both sides. That gives me 3y plus 5 is greater than 26. Okay, subtract 5. I'll get that 3y is greater than 21. Divide by 3. And I get that y is greater than 7. Okay, so y has to be greater than 7 in this case. So if I draw my number line, I'm going to start 0 over here this time since I know that I'm going to be having to go all the way up to 7. I'm going to go ahead and just make tick marks for everyone, but it's okay to go ahead and just count by 2. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, and I know that 7 is right here. So in this case, y cannot equal 7. It's anything bigger than 7. So since y cannot equal 7, I can't shade in the 7. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put an open circle on the 7. Okay? So an open circle indicates that this is the number that we used in our inequality is 7, but it is not part of our solution. And then y can be anything greater than 7, so I want to shade everything bigger than 7, so I'm going to shade to the right. I'm going to shade in that number line. I'm going to shade in that arrow. Okay? So coming to class tomorrow, you're going to solve an inequality, and you're going to graph the solution on a number line. Your inequality is -3a minus 7 is greater than 2.3. Let's go ahead and solve that. Do not forget that if the coefficient of the variable is negative, that you're going to have to flip that sign. The last step, you're going to have to flip it. Okay? So go ahead and solve that inequality, graph it on a number line, and bring that to class next time.